Good day, it's Mr. Taylor here with another short video. Today what I wanted to focus on are some of the assignments that are due this week. The most important one is the Mediated Values essay, your first draft, which is going to be due Wednesday night by midnight. And so I just wanted to spend a little bit of time looking at the course schedule, looking at Blackboard, and also going over the assignment prompt so that my instructions as a professor are clear as possible and that you understand my expectations. And I also wanted to give a few strategies on how to successfully complete your essay. And so what we're going to look at first is we're going to go ahead and take a look at the course schedule for this week. So this is week 2, which begins Monday, June 8th. You can see down at the bottom, we have the assignments listed as follows. The first assignment that you're going to complete by midnight on Monday is that you're going to respond to at least 2 of your classmates' posts underneath a discussion board for what we've been brainstorming for the mediated values essay assignment. So you're going to respond to at least 2 of those posts. And then for Wednesday, you can see listed below is the first draft of your mediated values essay. It asks you to post it underneath peer feedback, and in a moment I will show you exactly where that is. You'll also notice that by midnight on Wednesday that you'll need to respond to at least 2 classmates in regards to their experiences with peer feedback by midnight. But first, what I want to do is I want to show you where to post your mediated values essay. So let's say you have it all complete, you're ready to submit it, and you log on to Blackboard. You'll first want to click under Unit 1, Exploring Mediated Values. It will bring you up to this page right here. You can find the assignment description as well as the introduction to the unit. Underneath it are 2 folders, one for week 1 and the other for week 2. You'll want to go ahead and click on the folder for week 2. You will be brought to a list of items. These items include the assignment description. It also contains the video for Describe, Evaluate, and Suggest, which you'll need to watch. And it will also contain the link for the feedback fruits. That's the program that we're going to be using in order to facilitate peer feedback between yourselves. It does a really good job letting you be specific and letting you give good feedback to your peers. And so you see that it lists 2 instructions. Post your draft of your mediated values essay as a Word document by midnight on Wednesday, and then also respond to 2 classmates' draft with feedback for improving their essay by midnight on Friday. After you click on this button here, click to launch, it will bring you to feedback fruits. You can see that it is numbered 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 lists the instructions. You'll want to read them carefully before proceeding. You will then see number 2. It's listed as hand in. This is where you're actually going to submit your draft. And then number 3, give feedback to your peers. So when you're ready to read the work from your classmates and you're ready to give feedback and you've watched the video, Describe, Evaluate, Suggest, you will then go ahead and click here. You will be randomly assigned 2 drafts from your peers, and you will respond with thoughtful, clear, and specific feedback on how your classmates can better improve their drafts and make them stronger essays. And so just to summarize again, remember this Wednesday, your first draft is going to be due by midnight. And then by Friday at midnight, you are going to respond to 2 of your classmates' drafts. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the assignment itself. Here it is at the very top. You can see that it is titled Mediated Values Essay. It lists the prompt underneath it with a further explanation to follow. And then at the very bottom, you'll see the minimum expectations and guidelines. But let's start with the title first. We want to make sure that these terms are as clear as possible. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to show you the definitions for each of these terms, mediated and value. So this is the definition for mediate. We are looking at the first definition under number 1. To mediate is to intervene between people in a dispute in order to bring about an agreement or reconciliation. And so this idea of to mediate derives from the word middle, and also medium. And you'll also notice that the word media is within the word mediate. And so we're thinking about media as something that it's just not this passive activity. It's just not something that entertains us, but media actually has an effect on us as viewers, as citizens, as human beings. So what is a value? As I described in my last email to you, you can see here listed under number 2. What is a value? A value is a person's principles or standards of behavior, one's judgment of what is important in life. And so we put those two words together, mediated values, and what do we get? Well, not just values in general, but values that come from a specific place, notably the media. And so we're thinking about all the different ways in which values are transmitted in this world. Where do we get our values? We get our values from our parents, we get our values from our schools, we get our values from our churches, but we also get our values from the media. And so like the media just isn't this passive activity. It's not just something that we watch for entertainment, but the media is something that shapes the world that we live in. It sort of like mediates our understanding of what's important and what we believe. So let's go back to the assignment prompt itself and take a closer look at it. This is the assignment prompt right here, short and sweet. Construct an essay that informs your audience, i.e. your teachers and classmates. It's important to keep your audience in mind, that you're not just writing into the void, but you are writing to actual human beings about how a specific piece of media, in other words, a book, a movie, a television show, a song, an album, a magazine, etc. I would even add a video game to that, has shaped a value you hold. Use your personal experiences with this media to explain how that media has shaped your understanding of this value and how it is shared with others. And so it's asking you to use your personal experiences. And what that means is that storytelling is a welcome genre to this assignment. And so you'll be using narrative. And to use narrative is to use concrete language, descriptive language, describing your own personal experience. And you're not just writing about that personal experience, but you're connecting that personal experience back to your analysis. You're not just writing about that specific piece of media. You're not reviewing it. You're not telling the reader why this piece of media is successful, or why this piece of media or why this album is the best album you've ever heard, but you're explaining to the reader how that album or that TV show or that video game was really important to you and how it helped you to see the world in a new way, and also to sort of how you saw yourself in a new way and how it helped to shape you. And so this assignment is part storytelling and it's part analysis. You're describing your past experiences, but you're also analyzing that past experience and describing to the reader why that experience was meaningful to you. So you were given 3 readings to read for this assignment, and those readings were meant to serve as a model for your own essay assignments. They're published in fancy periodicals, but they still are really helpful and illuminating as to what we're looking for as instructors. And so what I have here are some samples from these essays that we read, and I just want to take a look at them very quickly and sort of like point out some things that these articles are doing that are similar to what you'll be doing yourselves. And so the first one here is from David Mann, who wrote the World Book. In it, he uses storytelling to explain how the encyclopedia helped give him a sense of connection and thirst for knowledge. And in it, he writes, "My earliest memories bear a feeling of separateness from the human world, and not only among strangers, but within my family as well. Ironically, what saved me from despair was that they let their silenced offspring stray. In my early years, we lived mostly in rural places where even a small child could drift untended for long stretches of the day. I climbed in trees, dawdled in streams, poked at bugs, played with clouds and gravity and angular momentum, and found comfort in this world outside human commerce. Something that is notable about this passage here is his attention to imagery and descriptive language. He isn't just writing in the abstract, but he's writing about the world that he lived in and existed in. You'll notice that it's also very reflective. He's thinking about a time that's long past, and he's sort of moving through this time way back in his life, and he's thinking about what his life was like before he encountered the encyclopedia. And it's giving a pretty good sense of like what he valued as a youth and what was sort of encouraged and sort of like kindled within him. And that is just really a love for the natural world. So what is the value that he identifies within this piece? Well, those values are a thirst for knowledge and a thirst for learning about the natural world. And what is the specific piece of media that he writes about to explore this? Well, he writes specifically about this encyclopedia that was incredibly important to him. This right here is from The Difference a Mutant Makes by Ramzi Fawaz, in which he reflects on finally seeing someone like himself represented in comic books and media. What he writes in this essay is, "What I was doing that summer day when I read my first issue of the X-Men was figuring something out, not about myself, but about my relationship to the world around me, as someone who fundamentally understood that I was different, but didn't yet know how to respond to being different. This is the true gift that superhero comics have given to American culture in the 20th century, but it is a creative offering increasingly taken from our grasp." And so again, he's using storytelling as part of his framing, and he's thinking about the first time that he sat down to read an X-Men comic and describing why it was such a profound experience for him. And what was sort of like the value that was derived from this experience, or sort of how his own personal values were shaped. Sort of this idea of sort of self-acceptance, the value of a feeling that you fit in somewhere, and also the value of seeing other people like yourself, especially in a time in which it was difficult to find yourself represented in media. And so why was the X-Men important for him? The X-Men gave him a feeling of belonging. And ultimately that's the value that he's writing about, the sense of belonging, not necessarily feeling like an outcast, but feeling like there's somewhere that you belong. And so what is the media that he's writing about? He's writing about the X-Men, but he's writing about it in a way that explores something about him personally. Now we're going to move on to this short excerpt from Ashley Reed's article, which is titled, "Girls Feel Stranger Things Too." And in it, Ashley Reed writes about the importance of dynamic female representation in films and TV. She writes, "Adolescent girls have long been taught that our feelings, particularly our new and confusing feelings about boys or girls as the case may be, are the most dangerous things on earth. To put it in terms that avidly readers understand, Joe gets mad, so Amy drowns. Emotions kill. Stranger Things doesn't deny this, it literalizes it. Then reminds us that emotions also save and heal. To my pre-adolescent self, 11 would have been a revelation. A strange girl whose friends, even eventually Lucas, accept her as just another kind of weirdo, whose worthiness doesn't depend on her performance of femininity, whose power is protective and not just destructive." And so this piece is a little bit different than the other two. She doesn't rely on storytelling as much as she does analysis. But nonetheless, this is a pretty good example of writing about media in a way that allows you to think about identity. And so in this, she's writing about Stranger Things, but what value is she really writing about? Similarly to Ramzi Fawaz's piece, she's writing about the importance of belonging and also the importance of seeing yourself reflected in the media that you consume. And also, what does she value in this? Strong female characters who are not just two-dimensional, but three-dimensional, which means that seeing a female character being strong and powerful and being complicated and dynamic. So I hope that these three pieces were helpful in terms of illuminating this assignment and my expectations for you as students. What you're doing is you're thinking about a specific piece of media, and you're thinking about how that media helped shape you to become the person that you are. And so it's going to combine two different modes of writing. It's going to combine storytelling and personal narrative, and it's going to combine analysis. And so you're making connections. You're making connections between the media that you consumed as young adults or children, and how meaningful that media was in terms of shaping you to be the person that you are today, the beliefs and principles and values that you hold dear to your heart. And so we're thinking about all the many ways in which the world shapes us as individuals. And so now I'm going to return to the minimum expectations of the assignment. I just want to go over those briefly. So here they are. You see that your essay should conform to these guidelines. Be a minimum of 500 words. Please make sure that they're 500 words, not 490 words, not 480 words. It must be 500 words, at least. It should be written in a readable 11 to 12 point font. It should have a title that is inviting to your reader. This is very important because the title is the first thing that a reader will look at. And so it's going to already inform them of what this piece is going to be about. It's the first impression, and so it's important that you give a clear, descriptive title right away. You will also identify and discuss a specific piece of media important to you. Remember, the more specific, the better. For instance, Travis Scott as an artist would be too broad. Something that would be more useful would be to identify a specific album or song from Travis Scott. You will also identify and discuss a specific value you hold that this media has helped to shape. Remember, try to be as specific as possible. It doesn't just have to be one word, but it could be a phrase or even a sentence. Use specific details, use narrative, use storytelling, that including personal experiences to explore the relationship between this media and this value. And then also show a degree of analysis. That is that you're just not describing the media, you're not just reviewing the media, but you're thinking about these connections. You're thinking about and reflecting and analyzing your experiences of the media, and you're making a connection as to the value you hold and how the media helped to shape it. And then, of course, be effectively organized, use clear language, and carefully edited. I don't have a clear form or template that you need to use for this assignment. The organization is up to you, just as long as your readers can follow it and that it's clear and that it makes sense. And then lastly, this essay will be evaluated on a pass-fail basis. On-time submission of a satisfactory essay that meets the above guidelines will result in an A. And so this essay is supposed to be low stakes to help you feel comfortable in this class. And so if this essay meets the minimum expectations and guidelines, you'll get an A for this assignment. And so that is all I have for you today. I just wanted to go over some of these important parts of the essay, and I wanted to talk about the readings just a little bit. And I wish you good luck in the drafting of this essay. If you have any questions about anything, whether where to submit the assignment or how to get started, or things that are unclear in this video or the assignment, please let me know as soon as possible. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. I will send out an email soon describing the assignments that are due on Monday. Otherwise, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.